Hey everyone, welcome back to the Read Report. What is going on? I have a very, very special guest this week. Today we have T.A. Walker. T.A., you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. As Nicole already shared, my name is T. I go by T on my podcast. I am an author, though. And as such, I think that my authorship is a perfect palate cleanser for true crime because we absorb so much of this information that my newest audiobook, Niccolo, is the perfect recipe for that. So if you're ever in the mood for an amazing and beautiful, not my words, a commenter's response to my audiobook on my YouTube channel, then I invite you over, have a listen, and absorb this short story. It's the first in a series of novellas. It's called The Love Chronicles. And if you fellas out there are craving a little bit more suspense with some adventure and some action, then you can follow the link that I'm sure Nicole will provide so that you can go to my Amazon page and you can download and read West. It is a Western romantic suspense novella, and most of the reviews for that book are guys, and they love it.
Gosh, T, you're so
Hmm?
well versed. So T does her author thing, and then you have an amazing podcast as well. You want to plug your
Mm-hmm.
podcast too?
Sure. I host Once Upon a Crime. It's a podcast of a regular person, a member of the court of public opinion. I survey, I give my 2 cents on all of these trials, the big ones and then the not so big ones. I review them, I provide commentary style content. So, if you don't want a robot reporting to you what happened in true crime that day, then you can come on over to my podcast and you will get a real person that does not hold back on what I think about the monsters that walk amongst us.
Oh man, that's a good preview, T. T tells it like it is. Definitely, if you haven't already done so, look up Once Upon a Crime on Spotify, or are you on any other platforms as well, T, or just Spotify for
Yeah,
that?
I'm on Spotify, I'm on Apple Podcasts. You can catch my podcast on whatever catcher you're a part of, whether it's Stitcher and, all those other ones. I can be found there. All you would need to do is to look me up. And look, before we jump into the shenanigans that's happening over there in Massachusetts, I have a surprise for our illustrious host, Nicole. Yes, you,
Get out of
Nicole.
here, T.
You are gifted with a
Oh,
bracelet
please.
of your choice at my jewelry shop. All you need
No.
to do is follow the link that you'll have in your show notes, and you can go and you can choose any bracelet you want. It is on the house. And also, I came bearing gifts for your listeners. Any of your listeners who visit my jewelry shop will receive 10% off their first purchase. No matter when you make your purchase, you'll get 10% off your bracelet.
Oh my Lanta, I was not expecting
Mm-hmm.
that. You
Oh,
are so
yeah.
awesome. T's got
Mm-hmm.
some great jewelry as well. Y'all will definitely have to check out the link and see what she's got. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
what else? What can't you do, T? You got your podcast, you're an author, you do jewelry making. What else don't I know?
Well, I don't know. It ties into my writing. I have a publishing company. Yeah.
Are you
I
kidding?
self publish my own books under my own company. So, guys,
Oh
in
my
this,
gosh.
content creator sphere, we are men and women of many hats. And if you're not one of the big names and you like to contribute to, independent media and independent endeavors, do it and put your talents to use. And I'm grateful that Nicole invited me on the show so that I can contribute what she thinks will be a worthy assessment of this testimony.
I am so excited. You just made my day, T. Thank you so much.
Aw,
Thank you for coming
you're
on and
welcome.
doing.
You are
T
more than
T is
welcome.
a real sport for you guys who don't know this because you're out in the TV land. But T and I actually pre-recorded this episode already, and then I messed up the recording. So T has taken this beautiful chunk of her day again to come back and talk to me again about Jennifer McCabe. But quite honestly, at least it's an interesting topic, right, T? But
Oh, absolutely.
definitely,
Absolutely.
definitely check out all of T's work. She is phenomenal. She tells it like it is. And with that, shall we jump into Jennifer McCabe?
Let's go.
Let's get it. All right. So this first one, T, I didn't share this first one with you last time because it's just a short little clip. I'm going to fast forward it. I'm just going to play back at 2 speed. But basically, this one I wanted to bring up because it's just so outrageous, and I know you'll have some thoughts on it. But it's from the second day of Jennifer McCabe's testimony.
Okay.
You can see, right?
Yes, I can.
All right, cool. Put it back in there.
There's also some connections there as well. Kevin Albert being most obvious.
Too fast, too fast. 1 second.
I'm going to allow that. Do you have a connection with the Canton Police Department?
Not with the department, but with Kevin Albert.
Right, who's a member of the department.
Yes, but my relationship's with him.
Understood. You've indicated that you've been interviewed by law enforcement agents associated with Massachusetts State, with Canton Police Department. That would be Officer Light.
Yes.
Can I stop you for a second, Mr. Counselor? Mr. Jackson, go right ahead.
When last we left off, we were talking a little bit about some of the familial connections that your family has with certain law enforcement agencies. We talked about Boston Police Department, obviously, Brian Albert. We talked a little bit about Massachusetts State Police and knowing friends of friends with regard to Chris and Julie, correct? Yeah.
Knowing friends of Chris and Julie?
Friends of friends of Chris and Julie.
Is that your relationship?
With who?
I'd asked you about. I'll ask a different question.
Okay.
A little bit vague. Courtney Proctor is friends with Julie's sister,
Yes.
and obviously Courtney also knows Julie and Chris, correct?
Sustained.
And there's also a connection to Canton Police Department through Kevin Albert. Is that right? Yes.
Can you answer that? Is there a connection? Do you have a connection with the Canton Police Department through Kevin Albert?
Not with the police department, but Kevin Albert is Brian Albert's brother.
Right. And Kevin works for whom?
The Canton Police.
Thank you. So you've been interviewed many times by different law enforcement agencies, be they Massachusetts State Police, Canton Police, or otherwise, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Those interviews have not just been over the period of weeks, it's been over the period of weeks and months and even years since this occurred, correct?
Yes.
You were contacted by another law enforcement
Want to know how to create awesome videos? Check out motionarray.com. You can do it too. Titles.
agency that was not Massachusetts State Police and not Canton Police Department at one point in April of 2023. Do you remember that?
Yes.
I want to talk for a second about that series of interview or that interview. You were contacted at your residence by these members of this law enforcement agency, correct?
Yes.
All right. Later that same day, you did sit down with those same law enforcement officers for a formal interview.
On that
same day that you were contacted by them, they also went into your home and actually interviewed you, correct?
Yes, it was brief.
All right. Those law enforcement officers identified themselves as being associated with an agency that is not Massachusetts State Police. You understood that?
Yeah.
And you understood that they were not involved with Canton Police Department either, correct?
Correct.
Completely separate agency, is that right?
Yes.
During the course of that interview, those officers informed you very specifically, Ms. McCabe, that it is a crime to lie to them, even during an interview, correct?
Yes.
Those law enforcement officers informed you that they were investigating certain circumstances attendant to John O'Keefe's death, correct?
They were very vague on what they were.
Understood.
I don't know what they were investigating.
But you did understand that it was having something to do with your involvement at 34 Fairview on January 28th, 29th, 2022. Yeah. As a witness or otherwise? Okay.
Sustained as to certain terminologies.
Sure. Let me see if I can rephrase that. Ms. McCabe, you were aware of the subject matter of their interview, right? They weren't interviewing about a car you bought last year, correct?
Correct.
They were interviewing you about, basically, about what you're testifying to here, correct?
When I first spoke with them, the conversation was pretty vague.
But the subject matter, vague or specific, was about this subject matter.
Yes.
Okay, fair enough. They first contacted you telephonically. You called you on the phone. Is that right?
Actually, they walked up to my car.
They walked up to your car?
Yes.
Okay, that was the very first introduction, correct?
Yes.
At that point, they had not identified themselves, correct?
They didn't know.
All right, and at that point, you told them that you were not Jennifer McCabe. They asked you who you were, you said, I'm Nicole.
I thought they were like selling something, so I was like, oh no, I'm not the homeowner.
There's so much there. Like, there's so much. There's so much.
What in the world? She fully thought the feds rolling up to her house
Right.
were salespeople?
I mean, would not they look like detectives?
Right?
Do salespeople typically look like they're with law? I mean,
Right.
yeah. No.
Jen.
Jen. JJ. Whatever you're calling yourself today. The link sidebar, we never got much information since this is, since this clip is not, is skimming past that, which is great. But, we know that link is a hot button.
Mm-hmm.
Do we not? Because
Yep.
Bev had to jump all the way in the middle of that.
Mm-hmm.
And an interesting thing about one of the many tales that Jennifer McCabe does is when Alan Jackson says something that she does not like or basically doesn't want to answer, notice she never looks at the prosecutor as in, hey, aren't you going to object? Her eyes beam to Bev,
Yep.
which for me shows collusion.
Mm.
Who sits in expectation for the judge
Come
to
save me, Mommy.
intervene? Not the prosecutor. The prosecutor has to object first, but she looks at the judge the whole time out of the corner of her eye.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree. That's a good catch.
Another thing that I noticed that she said was that she's attempting to minimize this meeting that she had with all the cops that she knows. And she made sure that she noticed, or she mentioned that it was brief, brief meeting, which for her, all she needs to do is get on this stand and tell her lies. But a brief meeting, given the situation, is incongruent.
Right.
There's a dead body on
Right.
your sister's lawn and she's married to a Boston cop. That makes no sense that they just say hi, bye, and leave. So your lie is contradictory to the situation at hand.
Well, right. So, like, here's Jennifer McCabe, who has been willing to talk with members of the Canton Police Department, members of the Mass State Police, people that some of which she knew, right? But then the feds come a knocking, and what does she do? She said, I'm not Jennifer McCabe. Jennifer who? Like, these are federal agents rolling up to the house. Like, are you kidding me, Jen? This is when you're silent. This is when you're pretending not to be who you are. And then it gets even bigger. Like, it gets even worse. The way she minimizes this. It's just like...
It's ridiculous.
It is.
And think about how succinctly she is with her lies. It's a lie to... It is a crime to lie to a federal investigator. And the very first question they asked her, she lied about.
The brief? Or which one? I can't even...
Asked her who she was.
Oh,
and
yes.
she said no.
Yeah.
I mean, from the very beginning, she lied.
Right. Even though she didn't know who they were yet.
And broke the law.
She's
Even
about
though
to
you
know.
didn't know who
She's
they
about
were.
to know.
First of all, who pretends to not be themselves when a salesperson comes up to your door?
Right.
It's just like you give them an excuse to scram. You don't pretend that you're
Right.
not you. Come on.
And to your point, right? Like, there's no way she looked at them and was like, "Oh, I genuinely thought you like." They're probably coming out of a Suburban with tinted windows,
Mhm.
and they're
Exactly.
dressed like in tactical gear or something. You know, like maybe they're not in tactical gear. Maybe they're in street clothes. But either way, you can tell what a law enforcement person looks like. Usually, generally speaking, you know.
And the better question is, okay, you thought they were salespeople, so you would lie. There was a level of intimidation that made you decide to lie. So
Totally.
salespeople don't make you afraid, they irritate you.
That's so true. It's same like Jehovah's Witness. You think Jehovah's Witness is coming up to you, Jennifer? Like,
Exactly.
you know,
Precisely.
you're not going to
Precisely.
be like, "Oh, who's Jennifer?" But anyways,
Mm-hmm.
Fair enough. Fair enough. However, after they said, sorry, after you said, I'm not Jennifer McCabe, you walked into the house, they then called you on the phone.
Yes.
They were still sitting outside your house.
I don't know where they were, but they did call me.
They were close by.
I'm not aware.
Well, the call came almost immediately after you walked back in the house, correct?
I'm not sure how much time had passed.
Give me an idea. It wasn't an hour. It was
No, it was
5
soon
minutes.
after. I'm just not sure. I can't tell you where they were located. I'm sorry.
Okay. They told you that they would, at that point, they identified themselves as being law enforcement agents, correct?
When they called me, yes.
And they told you at that time that they were not with Canton Police. You knew at least they were not with Canton Police Department. They were not with the troopers with Massachusetts State Police, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And they told you that they would like to have an interview with you. They'd like to have a sit-down talk with you, correct?
Yes.
And you told them that you would be willing to submit to an interview, but you needed about 10 minutes to get ready, correct?
Yes.
You ultimately did allow them into your home, and you did sit down for a formal interview with them, correct?
Yes, brief, but yes.
And it was during that formal interview inside the home that it was explained to you that it would be a crime for you to lie to them on any material issue, correct?
Yes.
During the course of your interview, your husband, Matt McCabe, came home. Is that right?
Yes.
As these law enforcement agents continue to question you, these law enforcement officers continue to question you at some point, you informed them that you did not feel comfortable with any further questioning and you suspended the interview, correct?
Yes.
Before leaving, however, those same law enforcement officers asked you if you had contacted anyone in those 10 minutes when you indicated, I need 10 minutes to get ready, between the time they called you and the time that they showed up and came inside your house, correct?
Yes.
You told them that you had contacted your husband, Matt McCabe,
Yes.
which is why he came home, right?
Yes.
And you told them that you had called Carrie Roberts before they interviewed you, correct? At that moment.
I'm not 100% sure, but if you have it, I'll. It seems like something I would do, but if you have it, could show me.
Absolutely.
what'd you call her last time, T? Jennifer. If you have a
Oh, Jennifer, if you could show me McCabe. Yeah. She is making the attorney prove what she said to her, which makes absolutely zero sense if you're on the stand to tell the truth. And I hope the jury is listening to this, because you should not believe anything that Jennifer McCabe says. Why? Because Jennifer McCabe lied about her name to the FBI. The first thing they asked her was a lie. And then we're going to find out that she's lied about who she called in those 10 minutes. And after they hear Jackson force this information out of her, they shouldn't be believing any of her other testimony. They really shouldn't.
If her credibility didn't already go out the window, I'd be stupefied.
Yeah, she has no credibility at this point for me.
I may have just a moment, Your Honor.
Okay.
Mayor, quick briefing.
Yes.
First, I'm going to ask you, Ms. McCabe, if you recognize that as being recorded, that in just general.
It appears to be, yes.
The folks who are going to stand and stand up, let's stand for a couple of questions.
Yes.
I can have that. I will direct your attention, if I may, for Court Counsel, page 3 of 4, starting with the second to the last full paragraph, going into top full. I'm sorry, page 4, top full paragraph.
Okay.
You could review those 2 paragraphs, read them to yourself, and then look up and let me know when you're finished.
Can we pause?
Oh, yes.
That she is putting this entire performance on as if it is that difficult to remember who you called in a 10-minute time frame before you sat down with the FBI. Why would you put on this kind of a performance?
Right. And just the fact that she's able to get away with all this, too, is mind-blowing. This is Jennifer McCabe's trial. You know what I mean? Like, she's
Yes.
calling the shots. She's declaring, are you going to object to that? Do I have to answer that? Save me. You know what I mean? Like, I understand whatever their circumstances about how Jennifer McCabe and her family have been treated, if she is in fact an innocent party. But the issue is, Jennifer, we have a lot of questions and suspicions about how you have been answering the most basic questions. And you have so much to say to the investigators that you know, and you're willing to talk to anybody. You're willing to hand over your phone, even though you might have deleted a few things. But you handed over your phone to some investigators that you know, but then the feds roll up and you say, A, I need 10 minutes to get ready. Got to call people who were involved that night. And then B, I got to cut this interview short because I'm not feeling too comfortable talking. And then also, you lie anyways. Like, what?
See, Nicole, this is where you and I, you are better than me, because I am willing to go out on a limb and say I don't trust nothing that the McAlberts say or do.
Yep.
Their actions, their testimony is incongruent with the alleged charges.
Yeah.
And you made a very good point just a few moments ago when you said this is her trial. For me, this is a trial of every person that gets on this stand. It is their trial. Everybody from the first person to the scare quotes around the experts to whomever else they call up to the stand, save John's mother, because we know where she is with all of this. Apart from her, it's everybody else on trial.
Right.
And they are some of the most brazen folks. The harassment that she claims her family has gotten is self-inflicted and instigated by them. And I'm standing 10 toes down on that. And I say that because if you all can get on the stand and blatantly lie, and I say this, and baby, you're not special, Jennifer McCabe and the rest of y'all. Y'all not special for me, because when it comes to these criminals and other folks we know in true crime who have committed these crimes, they have nothing to lose by lying. And because they're usually proven to be liars, then I can speculate as far, as deep, and as widely as I want to. I'm okay being wrong because I'm dealing with liars, baby. And once you do it, you can't undo it.
No, you're right. And I forget if you said this last time, but I think you did. Like, last time we spoke, the law isn't made for people like you and me who, God forbid, hopefully, I have no intention of breaking any laws anytime soon.
I know.
And I don't think you do either.
No.
But, the law isn't made for people like us. The law is made because there are people who constantly push boundaries. It's like, how many times does someone drive drunk until they're actually caught and pulled over? They average that, upwards of, I don't know, 200 times, something like that, some crazy number. So it's like, you're exactly right. Like, the law is made for people who have no problem breaking it. They show
None.
blatant disregard, and you lie once, you lie a lot sometimes. So, and I think
Absolutely.
a lot of people feel that same way about the McAlberts in this case. And in my opinion, I can understand that point, and I also can understand that they have experienced harassment, and if there's that smallest chance that Karen Reed is guilty of this, that maybe I do feel a little bit bad, but then sometimes I just try to put the whole emphasis on the fact of like, why is this all so suspicious? You know what I mean? Like, why did Brian Albert and Brian Higgins got to get rid of their phones if they have nothing to hide? You know, something is going on there. And let's say in the world that Karen Reed did it, I still think that the McAlberts are hiding something. I don't know what it is. And maybe I'm totally
Mm-hmm.
wrong. I'm cool with being wrong too. And
Mm-hmm.
we could find out that actually the federal investigation isn't closed. Like, that could turn out to be, hearsay. I don't know. But it seems like it might be. But we'll
Un-
see.
Unwarranted harassment of people, I stand against that. And if the McAlberts are in that population of people who are getting that smoke
Mm,
unjustifiably, then I stand against it, even if it's happening to them.
I got you.
Two things can be true at the same time, though.
Yes.
You can be getting harassed unjustifiably, and your ass can be on the stand lying through every tooth in your mouth, too.
True.
And the question for the greater audience of folks watching this is, why in the fuck are you guys lying?
Right.
Forgive my French. This program is not for children.
It's not for children.
Why are y'all lying then? Why are you lying? And even better than that, why do you think you can get on the stand, swear an oath, have prosecutors and a judge helping proliferate the lies? Come on, y'all. Come on.
Yeah.
Come on, guys. Come on
Yeah.
now.
And also, it's like, why is the prosecution trying so hard to get Karen Reed on these charges? Yeah, that makes me more suspicious of a potential cover-up situation or some potential collusion about something. Like, the Norfolk County DA's office has proven, we got you, McAlberts, we got your backs. Like, because their handling of this case and their open bias at times, really, has just been so obvious that it makes me question things even more. And like we've said before, we've talked about this 9 times out of 10, we are pro prosecution, right? Giddy up. Like, let's go. If you're
Absolutely.
guilty, you're guilty. No, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's innocent until proven guilty. This is all allegedly. This is just, me speaking.
Yes.
But
And I think that at every juncture of any trial I've ever witnessed, even when I've been willing to give the defendant the benefit of the doubt, there are always different sets of evidence that solves that problem for me. This trial is shrouded in mystery, and I have never seen a smoking gun in regards to Karen Reed.
agree.
The closest that I think that any of us will ever get to it are her utterings about her panicked state when she realized that John was in harm's way or had been injured, or she was trying to piece her drunken brain. See, nobody in true crime I have never heard anybody say, oh, Karen Reed, she was completely sober. I'm not trying to make Karen Reed somebody she's not.
Right.
I'm just saying I ain't seen a smoking gun yet.
Right.
And then when you add in all the lies and what feels like obvious conspiracies, you're looking at someone who stands to be prosecuted successfully.
Yep. Yeah, and I think you hit the nail on the head here. Like, everybody, at least in the second time around with the trying of Karen Reed, will be like, she's no angel. She's no angel, but
Mm-mm.
but it's true. Like we she has clearly had some confusing stories playing in her head about what played out that night, and we
Right.
may never know what actually played out that night, but also,
Mm-mm.
you know, in my mind, there's no evidence whatsoever of
Mm-mm.
intention here. If anything
No.
happened, if she did it, it was an accident, in my opinion. Because, she doesn't even really know what happened, I don't think. So it's like, whatever.
Can I jump in here
Yeah.
though? I think that the McAlberts, the judge, the prosecutors, I think that they actually could pursue this case in that vein. The vein of, you know what? We really do
Involuntary
want to
manslaughter.
prosecute this woman because we think she killed him on accident.
Right.
An accidental killing, John ain't coming back.
Right.
Whether he was killed on purpose or not. He is gone for good. And my thing is, I think with the McAlberts, they are taking a first degree premeditated level of hatred for this woman. Like she set out that night to murder her boyfriend. And I think that even those who think she's stone cold guilty, I've never seen the sentiment that it was like she thought about it first and then she did it. It was like, she was tripping, she was drunk, and she killed him. That's it.
Right.
It was on accident, and I think people would give Bev some slack. I think people would back off the McAlberts, and they would eagerly forget these old bland, low energy prosecutors.
Right.
If they just came at it like, look, she killed the guy, but it was it was manslaughter.
Right.
Not second degree murder. I mean, come on, guys.
Yeah.
There is no, when I look at Karen Reed, and I know you can't judge a book by its cover, but I don't see a person, like you said last time, they're never going to have any more problems out of Karen.
Right.
Except whomever may harass her if she happens to pull out of this, she's never going to put herself in this kind of position again. First, she broke. She ain't got no money. She's got to go work now. So,
Broke.
She's gone. The best Karen can hope for is going and hiding away somewhere out on the West Coast.
I agree.
With a dog.
With Alan Jackson, maybe. Who knows? There might be a little fan fiction going on there.
Maybe a little fun. I will write the fanfic for y'all.
Heck
it ain't my thing, but I will go ahead and write it.
Let's go.
You, Alan Jackson, and the cute golden retriever baby out here in Nevada. I will put y'all out in the desert, and y'all can be great out in this damn desert with new names. Both of y'all.
I love that.
Alan Jackson, he already ready for the trip because he's got his little facial hair going this time, so it ain't too much more he has to do except grow his hair out at the top a little bit longer, put a hat on, some glasses, and we won't even know it's you, Alan. We won't know it's you.
I agree. I love that.
And Karen, as long as you don't talk, we won't know it's you because the accent is thick.
That Fall River accent.
That damn accent. But yeah. So
You cracked me up.
she is still reading what she knows she already did. This is ridiculous.
There's that cornstarch blue.
Oh yeah.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes.
In reviewing those paragraphs, refresh your recollection as to whether or not as to what you told those agents initially? I'm sorry, what you told those officers initially from that other law enforcement agency
That was
about
on
who you
purpose.
contacted in that 10-minute interval?
Yes, I told them.
And you
Correct.
told them that you had contacted your husband, Matt McCabe,
Yes.
and Carrie Roberts.
Correct.
I want to stick with that for just a quick second. One of the first calls you made after being contacted by these other law enforcement officers from a different agency, one of the first calls you made was to Carrie Roberts. Is that right?
She was the first one.
That's what I'm asking. One of the first two calls you made, your husband,
Right.
come home, there's law enforcement outside my door. I'm guessing is what you said, correct?
I don't remember my exact words now, but I did ask him to come home. Correct.
And
Yes.
Carrie Roberts.
Okay. Yes.
You wanted to let Ms. Roberts know that you had been contacted by certain officers from a different agency, correct?
I was curious if they had already been to her.
That was my next question.
yeah.
You also wanted to find out had these law enforcement officers from this different agency contacted her, correct?
Yes, because typically you enter our
Yes or no?
town, she's.
Ms. McCabe, yes or no?
Oh, sorry, I was just trying to
That's
explain.
okay.
I'm sorry.
Is that why you contacted her, to find out if in fact they had contacted her before you? Yes or no?
Yes.
And you also wanted to find out what she told them, if she had been contacted by them, correct? That was your motive in calling her.
No.
So you just wanted to find out, had she been contacted? But if she had said yes, you weren't going to say, and what the hell did they say? What did they ask you?
Well, I can't say what I would have asked her, but I know I was calling to see if they had been there. Yes.
That was
correct.
your intent.
I called to ask her if they had been there. Yes.
So that was your intent, yes?
Yes.
Okay. Your motive in calling Carrie Roberts at that moment before your interview was to ensure that your story would line up with her story, Ms. McCabe. Isn't that right?
No, that is not.
You wanted to find out if she had talked to these particular law enforcement officers and what she had told them, so that your story could somehow align, or it could inform how you responded to questions that they asked you. Isn't that true?
That's not true. We both know what happened. We don't have to have a story. There is no story. There's what happened, and that's it.
So if that's true, Ms. McCabe, you have no reason to call Carrie and ask her if she'd been contacted by these law enforcement agents, because it's just the truth, right?
We're going through this whole experience together. We call each other about everything. That's nothing more than that. I'm sorry.
Let her finish her answer. Go ahead, Ms. McCabe. You can finish that.
There's nothing more than me calling and saying, hey, did they come to your house? That's what we did when the media showed up, when Miss Reed's private investigator showed up. We just give each other the heads up, hey, somebody's coming, because we're just like normal moms. We're not used to this.
Okay. You go first, Nicole, because I might not give you a chance if you don't.
Oh my god. Just the fact, at the end, she goes, we're just normal moms. Like, she's trying to prove something. You know, like, she's trying to be relatable, but she's coming undone. You know?
Yeah.
And she's getting real irked. And he's catching her. He's like, wait a second. If you weren't calling to get your stories right, then why were you calling at all, actually?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, a couple things. Number one, the whole time that she's bloviating to this jury, she's shaking her head no. And I know that a lot of times when it comes to body language, those people get a bad rap. But I think people should really back off of them a little bit, because we all have learned a lot about human gestures from these people. And it's not so much if this gesture is absolutely 100% correct all the time. It's, is your body in agreement with what you're saying? Hers isn't. And the whole time she's pretending like she's some kind of a soccer mom, some kind of PTA mom. Baby, your children have not been children since they
Jennifer
was children.
McCabe was definitely
They
the
are
room
grown.
parent, right?
They're grown. Baby, your children are grown. So what you doing now is you get to go have margaritas at lunch. Because now you ain't got to go pick up little Timmy from school. You can go back home and take that nap you used to not be able to take like a decade ago. Let's face it, your daughter is an adult who's doing adult things now. Could be married, could be engaged. And it's not that you ever stop being a mom, but do not paint that picture as if your children are in the 4th grade and you got to go back and pick them up at 3:30. Please stop. Stop it.
I didn't even think
Stop.
about that part of it.
Stop it. So, first of all, she's claiming a segment of life she hasn't been for about 15 years. The next thing is you don't call Carrie Roberts because because she's at the top of our subdivision, so they have to go in chronological order. No, nobody is buying that. And the next thing is cornstarch blue is starting to be my least favorite color. It used to safely be a color I thought was a neutral that I enjoyed turning to. I don't now, because every time I see that shade, I'm thinking about her. And there's no way you can buy something and think it's cute. Okay, so I'll leave it there. And Karen Reed's wearing her fair share of blue too. I'm just saying, if you
love
find
Karen Reed's
yourself at the
outfits.
store buying cornflower blue, it's because this trial is subliminally putting it in your head. That's
I
it.
agree.
Helpful in making sure that the stories she tells are consistent with the stories you tell with different law enforcement agencies. Correct?
No, we are not telling stories.
So let her finish.
Can
She
I?
said no.
Can you stop it? Okay, I needed to make this point again. And guys, if you can't tell, I have a podcast. I'm sorry. I have a lot of opinions, and I'm
That's
not
what we're
really
here for.
plugging myself here, but
You oughta.
when you go to my podcast, I do this. So, Alan Jackson, this is one correction I think that he can benefit from. And I think I know why he's doing it. He's using words like, it was your intent. Was it your motive? Did you collude? He's using these super legalese types of words. And I think it's a mistake because if you notice, these make her hackles rise whenever she says it. It's a trigger for her that I need to refute and defeat and lie harder than I've ever lied before when he says a word like that. Because if I ever have to admit intent, if I ever have to admit motive, that makes me look guilty. And my thing is, Alan Jackson is fumbling and stumbling over these questions because he knows that Bev is going to strike him down.
Yeah.
But the problem is he needs to find synonyms for intent for all the, don't use legalese here. Use common everyday parlance because it makes her so defensive that she shuts down and your question's never going to be answered. Now, I believe that Alan Jackson is a lawyer for a reason, and that's why I'm not, because I would tell her to stop all that damn lying. Why is you lying like that? This is why I'm not a lawyer.
Right.
He is a lawyer, and he's using his words very intentionally, but I'm just saying, if he wanted to get her, I think, like, for instance, if he said, hey, did you call Carrie Roberts because, did you call Carrie Roberts to see if they were there because you had a good reason to do that? She would answer, yes. She is never going to answer, was that your intent? Intent? And it's like Alan.
But that's almost what he's aiming for, in a way, maybe.
That's
I
what
don't
I
know.
thought.
That could
That's
be.
what I thought.
It could.
That's what I think.
But no, you could be right. And then to that end, he has to play this kind of tiptoe thing where he can't lead her, or maybe it's not leading, but it's like he can't come at her so aggressively, or else Hanky's gonna object, and Bev's gonna sustain because she'd be like that. But like, it's a fine line you gotta walk as a defense attorney, and it's an even finer line if you're cross-examining Jennifer McCabe and you got no support from Mother Goose, right? Because the defense here, if she's not answering, she can have her whole narrative, and Bev will say, "Let her finish," because that's how Bev has been running this room. Like I said, it's Jennifer McCabe's trial, right?
Yes.
It's just terrible.
It is.
I said, no, we're not telling stories. We don't have to compare.
And if in fact what we were telling you is just the truth, there'd be no reason for you to inquire about who's contacted her when.
There's no inquiring. It's like when you're when the ice cream truck was at the street next door and I'm saying, did the ice cream truck come? It's really that simple.
Jennifer, the feds rolling up to your house
has
nothing
no
to do with an ice cream truck rolling up? And
Nothing.
again, she's acting like her kids are like 4 years old.
Right. And the problem with these answers and how terrible they are is that they're permissible by the judge. She knows she can say stupid. This is a stupid. First of all, it's non-responsible. But second of all, it's a stupid answer.
Yes.
But she knows she can be as dumb as she wants to be with Bev as the like. Have you ever considered this trial? Because I have, with a different judge. This would be a tough. We wouldn't even be on trial 2.
Agree.
We would have already had this case taken care of.
Yep.
With a different judge. And I hate to continue going because this is, but it makes all the difference in the world because we saw how the police department handled the case. We see that the prosecution is gunning for her. And then the defense attorneys are doing what they're doing for Karen Reed.
Yep.
A judge can make all the difference and can be a great equalizer because a good judge would have placed the prosecution and the defense on even playing field. And some of the objections would have gone either way, but it would not be a 99-1 rate of sustains like it has been.
Nothing like this. I agree completely. And also, it's like, I feel like Beverly, maybe it was partially because Adam Lally, the prosecutor before Hank Brennan at the last trial, was just like a lot more demure, and his style was just kind of like sloppy in a way. His storytelling was just terrible. He lacked any sort of engagement with the jury, in my opinion. Like, he was just so flat, and he tried to just deliver things like, let the evidence show for itself what it does, but it just failed, in my opinion, miserably. And Hank, in my mind, he's doing a better job than Adam Lally is. That doesn't say much, right? But he's definitely pulling out all the stops because they really want to get Karen Reed, But
yes.
That being said, I think Bev almost had more. She almost gave more leeway to the defense at the first trial. And now at this one, she has just been nonstop bringing her Bev bias every day. To the point where, like, she's even apologized recently in the past few days, I guess. She's kind of been like, oh, I'm sorry, I can't give the appearance of bias or something. Like, she caught herself recently. And she's done that a couple times. And it's like, okay, if even you know and you're admitting it on the record in front of the jury, then that's pretty bad.
I think what Bev is doing, because I know what you're talking about. I've heard her say, and if I'm not mistaken, it was at some point during day 1 of Jim McCabe's testimony that the judge said when she was going to allow the defense to present certain evidence or certain witness or something, she said yes, because every defendant has a right to a free trial, fair trial. And I thought to myself, this reminds me of someone who is who thinks that because they tell you I love you, you can do any old kind of damn thing you want to do to me because I told you, I did tell you I loved you, not realizing that it's your behavior that I pay attention to, not what you say. So her saying that, oh, I have to have a free, it's like she knows that somebody's watching on Judicial Watch. And you're right, Bev, it's me. I have appointed myself Judicial Watch.
Watch
and
out,
I'm clocking everything that you do. You come over here, you can try it if you want to, but you're going to be more upset by trying to pursue me, baby, because I ain't got nothing for you. Nothing.
You're
but
right.
frustration.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. This has national attention, this case. Obviously, people are going to be looking at the way you're behaving as a judge because, like I said, if Karen Reed gets charged, you bet her appeal is ready to go, and Bev's bias is going to have something to do with that.
for sure. And I think you are correct. And, sometimes my writer's mind gets the better of me and I start to spin stories like, what if Bev is doing all this, but really she's actually going to end up steering this ship where Karen Reed can be exonerated, where she will
Ah,
slowly but surely allow the defense to do their damn jobs, and she will allow this trial to go the way it's supposed to go, because after all, how else will she get the feds off her
yeah, yeah.
and all those involved if they don't go ahead and just go ahead and let this lady have her fair trial?
Seriously, or just like, I know Karen Reed doesn't want to take a plea, but if the plea had no jail time at this point or something, like, everybody just wants us to see this wrapped up at this point, and they know, even in their heart of hearts, I'm sure John O'Keefe's parents, they know that the case is actually weak, and as much as they despise Karen Reed, and they despise her supporters and everybody, it's like, come on, people, can't we just wrap this up? At the end of the day, none of this, like you said, is going to bring John O'Keefe back, right? He did,
Mm-mm,
unfortunately. Rest in peace, John,
for
and
sure.
it's a tragedy that now this is just how it's all playing out. His death has nothing to do with what's been going on lately, and it seemed like he was a good guy. And
It
anytime a
does.
cop is killed, they've really pull out the guns on that, and that's partially why they overcharged her, probably.
And
But
I I agree 100% with what you said. And to put a cherry on that, I write romance, I write love stories. And so when my mind starts to wander, I think to myself, how many people liked John? And I mean liked him.
mm-hmm.
Because y'all fighting awfully hard. Awfully hard. Awfully hard. I mean, for real. The ladies must have loved John. That's
Oh,
I'm
no
I'll
doubt.
keep that one right there.
No, you're so right.
Because why y'all fighting tooth and nail over this man like this?
And he's always
What
got
he
some
say?
baddies on his arm.
And
Like,
what he
all
do?
these
What did he
ex-girlfriends
do?
coming out of the woodwork, and they're all beautiful.
Girl,
Like, I'm like,
what did he do
okay.
to you? I know what he may have done to you. I know what he may have done to you.
Right.
And it would look, just not to desecrate his memory, and I'm not trying to do that, but I'm saying John wasn't exactly the ugliest guy I've ever seen. And I
No.
just feel like, I don't know if those baby blues land on them ladies, they might have just felt like they were special. I'm just asking.
Right.
Married and all. It's like every last one of
That's
y'all
fair.
married, but I mean,
And
y'all like John.
cops had the reputation too, though. Like,
Oh yeah.
he might have been sleeping at Bella's or whoever the heck that was.
I'm
You know
just
what I
saying.
mean? I'm
I was
just
just saying,
saying.
because y'all know a little bit too much about his love life.
I
Why?
think so.
Why? Why do you know? You are married, baby. You need to worry about you and you. I'm not even going to talk about
Not
Mr.
actually
McCabe.
married, but
I ain't going to talk
God,
about Mr. McCabe. All I'm saying is that everybody seemed to want a piece of John. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
that's so true. And with that, let's turn the gears. What are we
All
doing?
right. Let's do it.
And this is the text messages from Jennifer McCabe and family.
That's okay. I didn't know. Thank you.
Wow. Mother Goose sure swooped
Yes, it
in.
says 129.
Give her
swooped
her
in.
own
Is that
personal
just between
copy.
yourself and this? I'm sorry.
Do you have a copy
Nicole, or
for
that-
her?
I think it's just myself and Nicole.
There was another series of chats. We'll get to that in a second. It does include Nicole, Brian, Matt McCabe, correct?
Yes.
On this particular set of texts, do you see the first text starting in the green box? That is a text from you to, it says Coco, correct?
Yes, that's my sister Nicole.
Okay. And you recognize this text?
I do, yes.
And you recognize the text following the following bubbles?
Yes.
I would ask just remarks for, I'm sorry, move the evidence.
Any objection?
I think we should.
Why don't I see you type up the minute, please? All right, so the objection is noted and overruled. So, Mr. Jackson, you can put that K for identification is now in exhibit. Yes.
Center.
Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor. Before
All
I
right,
proceed,
so, jurors, before you consider any electronic communications in your deliberations, and you heard Trooper Garino read a lot of text messages the other day. I didn't interrupt him, I probably should have, but before you consider any electronic communications in your deliberations, you must first find that it is more likely true than not that the person who either authored or created or transmitted the communication was in fact the person alleged. So here we have communications between, allegedly between Ms. McCabe and her sister. Before you can consider them, you must find that it's more likely than not that they were the people who sent and received those. If you do not find it's more likely true than not that the person alleged to have created or sent them, then you may not consider the electronic communication in deciding your case. Now, when you read or hear about these text messages, you may not consider the statements for their truth, but you may consider them solely for the limited purpose of understanding the state of mind of here Ms. McCabe when she sent those messages. All right. So now that's what I needed to do. Mr. Jackson, your turn.
thank you, Your Honor. With the court's permission, I would ask the
Before
January-
you go into this part, this is a farce. Okay, and we're gonna add our 2 cents and all that, but I am past my limit on this, and I'm telling you that
Tell 'em.
this whole thing is a farce, and I am comfortable with myself in saying that we are watching a witch hunt. There, I said it.
She said it.
There, I said it.
You said it.
I don't trust nothing in front of us right now. Not
Agree.
nothing.
And also, how about the fact that
And
she started
I'm not
this?
gonna feel hey, Nicole, I'm not gonna add no philosophy to it. I'm not gonna put no degree to it. I'm not going to do any of that except say it is all bullshit. This judge is bullshit.
And
This
how
is
about she
bullshit.
reads her little note and she's like, "Oh, I admit I should have read this disclaimer before Trooper Garino testified to Karen Reed's text messages between John O'Keefe and Karen Reed." Like, oh, suddenly you're gonna read the disclaimer when it's about Jennifer McCabe's text messages, but you didn't read the disclaimer. And she's saying, I probably should have.
Mm-hmm.
She's putting this on the record.
Nicole, anybody listening and watching this trial can choose. You know, you get those people in the chat that say, I'm choosing to let the evidence lead me where it's may. And that's fine. That's good. I'm glad there are people out there that are fair like that. I'm not. And this here is complete. I would watch a cartoon with more seriousness than I watched this. This is complete crap. And it does not deserve intelligent people to dissect it and to commentate on top of it, because it's complete and utter horse dung. It is not really worth it. Look at these people. And this is the clown show that happens in you. When you hear about people haranguing the judicial system, they talking about this kind of stuff. It's just that we don't really see it on display as much. But they let something slip, and we were not supposed to see this playing out on the world stage. We wasn't supposed to know that this was happening in Canton.
Oh God, I'm turning red as a tomato. That's so funny. No, you're so right, T. I mean, what more can I say? It's a travesty of justice, truly. And the fact that this has become what people are tuning into on the national stage, Bev, you mess with the wrong lady when you're trying to chase Karen Reed. Let's just say that. Because people are going to come to bat because people can sniff when people aren't being legitimate. Okay?
Correct.
Whether that's the prosecutor, whether that's the judge, whether that's some of the witnesses in this case. We know bullshit when we see it. Right?
Yes.
And people don't like it. People don't like it at all.
No.
29th text be published.
Yes.
So is there a way to, there we go.
Margaret, the witness might need that exhibit.
Your Honor, may I approach just to retrieve the exhibit?
Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I was just going to say, could you please enlarge that?
Any way to make that bigger? We'll take one bubble at a time.
Ms. McCabe, do you need lights on or are you okay?
Oh, I'm okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Ms. McCabe, does this appear to be a representative copy of what you're looking at? It's just been marked for evidence?
Yes, it does.
Starting at that top text, which is the green bubble here, can you see at the very top where it says from, there's a redaction?
Yes.
The last 4 digits of that phone number, do you recognize that?
Yes.
Is that your phone number?
Yes.
Do you see just beneath it, it says 2, and there's a line that says Coco?
Yes.
Is that your sister?
Yes, it
That's
is.
Nicole.
Yes.
And if you look down in the bottom right corner of this exhibit, do you see a time and date stamp?
Yes, I do.
What is that time and date?
It's 1:29:22 at 7:54.
Is that 7:54 p.m.?
Yes.
Okay. Can you read for the jurors what you texted to your sister at 7:54?
Sure. Carrie talked to the cops and kept it simple.
Who's Carrie?
Carrie Roberts.
And this is a text that you sent about Miss Roberts' interview with the police.
Yes, it is.
If Mr. Woke, can we pull up the next text, please?
I wonder if I should raise my prices.
Do you see the response in the blue bubble?
Yes, I do.
Who's responding to whom?
I'm responding to my sister, Nicole.
Can you please tell us the time? And we know it's the same date. What time is that?
That would be 7:56. Or 58, sorry. I'm not sure if that's an 8 or a 6.
I may have misheard you. The blue bubble is from whom?
It's from my sister, Nicole,
To whom?
to me.
Okay, I may have misheard you. I thought you said the reverse. I want to make sure we're very clear. The blue bubble is from Nicole. The green bubbles are from you.
Yes, correct.
Got it. And this text says, I'm sorry, read that for me one more time.
Sure. Okay. Try and get some sleep. Talk tomorrow.
Next text, please.
These texts between Jennifer McCabe and her sister, Coco. Also Jennifer McCabe's nickname, JJ. Other sister, DD. Interesting. Other sister, Shelly. These texts are happening January 29th, 2022. That's the day John O'Keefe was found on Coco's front lawn. Try and get some sleep. Talk tomorrow. Try and get some sleep.
Yep.
Right after she says, "Oh, Carrie, talk to the cops," she gets it simple.
Correct. And I agree with that. These texts are crap, just like this whole trial is. And this trial is us watching a bunch of criminals doing everything they can to blame Karen Reed for their crime. Karen Reed's mistake was ever putting herself in the company of these toxic, dangerous busybodies.
And you know what? I'll say it. It's just I don't want to blame anybody, but when you're an adult, like 40s, 50s, you're going out on your average Saturday night with a bunch of law enforcement officers. You might even be a fellow law enforcement officer yourself, and you're boozing and cruising without thinking anything about it. Everybody's saying, I would have thought nothing about them getting in the car and driving. Like, oh, this is your average Saturday night, just boozing it up in Canton. Like, are you kidding me, people?
Yeah. Karen Reed is guilty of getting drunk around a bunch of dangerous people. That's her crime. She committed a crime of driving drunk. Unfortunately, that's a crime that is not retroactive. If you get away with it, then you got away with it. They have to catch you at the time. Obviously, we all know that. But unfortunately, you cannot do that type of an activity around these folks, because these folks will ruin your life, which is what happened. They absolutely. And look, if Karen Reed is innocent, if Karen Reed is guilty, you got to come better than this for me to believe it.
Exactly.
Yeah. I'll never believe that she killed him.
Me neither. Or if
What's the
she
time
did,
of
it
this
was
text?
straight accident.
7:57.
This is from you to Coco, to Nicole.
Yes.
What does that text say?
Any update?
What did you mean by any update?
I meant, had she heard anything or learned anything new?
Next text, please.
Hang up. 1/29/2022. Her sister Coco just said, "Jay, baby, get some sleep." Okay, nighty night, JJ. Nighty night. Try and get some sleep. And then she said,
Mm-hmm.
she texts right back. Any update? She's not
So
sleeping.
she's drunk. Is she still drunk?
I don't know. It's possible. I mean,
Because
it's the next day,
she
but
forgot her lap. She forgot. Did she not know that she just told her to get some rest? I mean, it's, you know, do
right.
you get updates in your dreams? I mean,
Do you see a response from your sister to you?
Yes.
What does that say?
We'll get more info tomorrow. Don't want to text about it.
Next text, please. Is this a text from you to your sister Nicole?
Yes, it is.
What does that say?
Right.
Next text, please. What is the date and time of this text?
It is 1:29 in 2022 at 8:01 p.m.
And this is in response to the text that you just read from you to your sister. This is now a text from your sister back to you, correct?
Correct.
What does this text say?
Okay, text me in AM, or if you hear anything later.
Thank you. We can bring lights up for just a moment. One of the texts, the third from the bottom text on the second page, in other words, the top text on the page, was from your sister to you. We'll get more info, TOMM, correct?
Yes.
Don't want to text about it, correct?
Yes.
TOMM means tomorrow.
Yes.
This was January 29th, 2022, correct?
Yes.
Tomorrow would have been January 30th,
Yes.
2022. Is that right?
Yes.
Your Honor, I'm holding another document. This is a multi-page document. 8 pages in total length. There's a big page on bottom, 02148. Okay, you can go. Thank you. May I approach the witness?
Yes.
Thank you.
You can take a look at that document, flip through it, and let me know when you're finished.
This is the document we discussed at sidebar.
It is, Your Honor.
can I say
Please.
that it's obvious to me that she's not. Can you pause it real quick? It's obvious to me that any questions and answers that we get on this are sanctioned by Bev. So that means that we're not actually getting any questions or answers that, like you said, get us anywhere. So this is a waste of time.
Exactly. And you know, even in the realm of possibility that Karen Reed did hit John O'Keefe, and that is what led to his death.
Mm-hmm.
The average person is going to have trouble rectifying why these witnesses would be texting like that.
Exactly.
Immediately
what are you
after.
texting for?
Don't want to
Why
text
are you-
about it. We'll get more info tomorrow. Get some sleep. She don't sleep.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Look at that ring. She got a nice little.
I've never seen a witness be able to read over their texts before they're presented to the court.
Yeah, not
I've never seen that
not
in my
nearly
life.
like she has commanded this courtroom, commanded each exhibit there.
Mr. McCabe, you recognize that it's depicted in these documents?
Yeah.
Does this appear to be a group chat between and among yourself, Nicole Albert, Chris Albert, and Matt McCabe?
I don't believe Chris Albert's on that.
I'm sorry, my mistake. Brian.
Yeah, Brian, sorry.
So the four of you?
Yes.
Okay. And does this appear to be a group chat that was engaged between and among y'all on February 1st, starting, I'm going to try to bookend it, starting at about noon, ending at about 5 or 5:30 that evening?
I didn't look, but I'll take your word for it.
You just look at the first one or two.
Oh, yeah.
You don't-
February 1st, yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
And then the last one, same date, around 5:30.
Yes.
What you think?
Hmm?
Do you pause for something?
No, I
Good.
didn't.
Oh, sorry. I just heard your sigh. It was like Beth's sigh.
I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
Same objection, Mr.
I'm sorry.
I like it. It's fun.
48.
Okay.
And jurors, the same instruction regarding the electronic communications and the same instruction regarding this is not to be used for the truth of what's in there, but simply as opposed to just a case study.
With the court's permission to publish, please?
Yes.
If we start at the second text down. Ms. Wolf, can you make that a little bigger? I apologize. Thank you. Do you recognize what's depicted both on the screen and in your hand?
Yes.
Does it appear to be the same thing?
Yes.
Okay. Taking a look at that first text, who is that from and who is it to?
Okay. Sorry. It's from Brian Albert, and it's to myself, my sister Nicole, and Matt McCabe, my husband.
If you could orient us, please, and I won't do this with every single text, but orient us for the first text. What date and time is this text?
This is February 1st at 12:50.
So this is about 3 days after the event in question.
Yes.
12:50 noon.
Noon, yes.
Just before 1 p.m.
Yes.
What does that text say?
Julie said Channel 4 is in D&E.
And that's from whom?
Brian.
So Brian Albert explain what that text means.
So Brian Albert is telling us that Julie told him Channel 4 is in D&E.
Who's Julie?
I'm sorry, Julie Albert.
Thank you. Let's go to the next text. Is this in response to the text you just read?
Yes.
The prior text mentioned Channel 4 and D&E. What is D&E?
D&E is a sub shop that is owned by Chris Albert.
Is that in Canton?
Oh, sorry. Yes, it's in Canton.
On the main street of Canton?
Yes.
Directly next door to what?
Waterfall.
Across the street from
Oh,
Waterfall.
sorry. CF McCarthy's. Yeah.
Thank you. Across the street from Waterfall, directly adjoining, they have an adjoining wall to CF McCarthy's, correct?
Yes.
And D, is it D and E or D in E?
D and E.
D and E. Okay, that's just the name of the pizza sub shop.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you for that context. Ms. McCabe, can you read what this text says, who it's from and who it's to?
This is from Matt McCabe to myself, my sister Nicole, and Brian.
Can you read it for us, please?
Sure. Eating, I assume. Ask Chris to ask some questions. Tell them the guy never went into the house.
What does tell them the guy never went into the house mean to you? How did you take that?
I took that as John never came in the house.
Who's the guy?
John.
John O'Keefe.
Yes.
And the beginning of that sentence is tell them that the guy never came in the house, correct?
Yes.
And the sentence before that is ask Chris to ask some questions, correct?
Yes.
So this is Matt McCabe directing that Chris ask questions of Channel 4, correct?
I wouldn't say directing.
Whatever word
I
you're using.
would.
No, I'm saying that Matt.
Suggesting.
I think we're all looking to find out what happened. So Matt was like, ask them questions. What do they know?
And also indicating that Chris should tell them the guy never came in the house, correct?
John never came in the house, correct?
Okay. Next text, please. Can you orient us? Who is this text from and who's it to?
Okay. This text is from Brian to myself, to Nicole, and to Matt.
Brian who?
Sorry, Brian Albert.
And this is in response to the text above that you just read, correct?
Yes.
Where Matt McCabe said, tell Chris to find out, get an update or something, and tell him that the guy never came in the house. This is
Yes.
in response to that text.
Yes.
And what does Brian Albert respond?
Exactly.
One word, correct?
Yes.
Next text, please. This is a green box, so I presume this is you.
Yes, it is.
And this is to whom?
To Nicole, to Brian, to Matt.
And what does your text read?
It means, oh my God.
It's ONG, but
Yeah.
it meant to be OMG, correct?
Yes. Yeah. I do a lot of errors.
Which stands for oh my God.
Yes.
Next text, please. Who's this from? Who's it to?
So this is from my sister Nicole to myself, to Brian, and to Matt.
And what does that text read?
It says, I assume it's just to eat, but Brian, if she is there, ask her what the deal is.
Next text, please. Before I ask you about this text, the last text, that was from whom one more time?
From my sister Nicole.
It was from your sister Nicole?
Yes.
And she mentions a she, a pronoun she.
Yes.
Is that referring to Julie Albert?
To be honest, I don't know who she's referring to.
Well, remember the first text started, or did the first text start with someone reporting that Julie said that Channel 4 was in D&E?
Yes, it did.
So would that prior text mean get Julie Albert to get some updates on what's going on? Let's go back to that last text one more time.
Yeah.
You see where it reads, if she's there? Does that mean if Julie is at D&E, hence she just reported that Channel 4 is there?
I'm truly not sure if who she's referring to as the she.
Okay, fair enough. Let's go to the next text, please. Ms. Wolf, I think you missed one. The one above it. Who's this text from and who's it to?
This text is from myself, and it is to my sister Nicole, to Brian, and to Matt.
And what does this read?
This says to ask if we heard if she is in a mental hospital.
Next text, please. Who is this from and who's it to?
This is from me to my sister Nicole, to Brian, and to Matt.
What's the time on this text?
2:55.
And what does it read?
Carrie is here going over timeline.
Who's the Carrie referring to?
Carrie Roberts.
What is here?
I would assume here would mean my house.
Next text, please. Who's this from and who's it to?
This is from Brian to me to Nicole to Matt.
And what does this text read?
I did hear that.
Next text, please. Who's this text from and who's it to?
This text is from me to my sister Nicole to Brian to Matt.
What does it read?
And we handed the phone to Carrie.
Who's Carrie?
Carrie Roberts.
What phone are you referring to?
Mine.
Who's on the other end of that phone?
On February 1st, I believe it could have been Michael Proctor.
Next text, please. Who is this from and who's it to?
This is from me to Nicole to Brian to Matt.
What does it read?
She is telling him everything.
Everything is in all caps with an exclamation point, correct?
Yes, it is.
What's the timestamp on this, Ms. McCabe?
2:55.
Who's the him that you're referring to in this text?
I believe it was Michael Proctor.
Next text, please. Who is this from and who's it to?
This is from me to Nicole to Brian to Matt.
What's the timestamp on this text?
2:55.
Same minute that you sent the last text?
Yes.
She's telling him everything?
Yes.
And then you follow up with what?
All this stuff.
Next text, please. Who's this responsive text from?
This is from Matt to myself, Nicole, and Brian.
And what's the timestamp on this?
4:35.
What does this read?
Yep. If she pleads out, it will end. If she fights it, it will be an episode.
Who's she?
I'm assuming that would be Miss Reed.
Next text, please. Who's this from and who's it to?
This is from Nicole to me, to Matt, and to Brian.
And what does this read?
She liked the text about
The previous text?
Yes.
Meaning like a thumbs up or a like?
Yeah, it just says like. So
The one that reads, yeah, if she pleads, it will end. If she fights, it will be an episode.
yes.
Next text.
Yo. If she pleads out, it will end. If she fights it, it will be an episode. And my God, has it been an episode?
We're watching the second episode
The
now.
second episode.
If we can call it that. No, we're watching the second season. Every day is an episode.
Mm-hmm.
And they meant, and that's exactly what happened.
Yes.
What's happening in front of the world.
And
So how do you as a jury take that and not even do anything with it because you shouldn't be knowing these details. So what do you do with that?
And just this whole exchange is so bizarre. Like, even if the jury is giving these people the benefit of the doubt, tell them the guy never went in the house. Talking about how they're going to the Channel 4 news station is going to Chris Albert, who is, by the way, Brian Albert, homeowner, brother, who owns a pizza shop in Canton. And he's also on the Canton Select Board, oversees the Canton Police Department. They're asking immediately. The Alberts are trying to control the narrative, and they're trying to get information about the investigation. They're trying to ask the news station. Tell them the guy never went in the house. They're trying to cover their tracks about something. And it's
Nicole,
almost like they're
you know
speaking in
what it
code,
is.
right?
But you know what it is. You're watching a cover up, and you're watching people cover up a crime in court on the national, international stage. They covered up a crime that night. You cannot convince me they didn't, because nobody will tell the truth.
Everybody's innocent until proven guilty, but yes.
Everybody is, yes, allegedly.
Allegedly. It's all
Karen
alleged.
Reed did this crime, and allegedly the McCabe's have covered up a crime. So if Karen Reed can be as guilty as she is innocent, then so can they, because we've seen them lie. Karen Reed ain't took the stand yet. We have to also remember that whatever you've heard her say, or people have heard her say in interviews or via her attorneys, until you take that stand, you have not provided any testimony regarding what happened that night. You have not. The opening statement is not evidence, nor is the closing evidence.
Right.
The only evidence is testimony, and then the jury still gets to decide what to believe.
Facts. That's why they're playing dirty. They're playing on the emotion of the jury. They're playing on, let's get some sympathy up in here for John. And don't get me wrong, there should be sympathy for John, but that's not the way to win, okay, Hank? Like, if you want to play fair, if you really think the evidence should speak for itself, and you constitutionally do believe in the right of a defendant to get a fair trial, then A, you would never try this case to begin with, and B,
Right.
you wouldn't be using Karen Reed's own words against her, like, so much so as to just paint just this nasty picture of her, because that's what I get it. He wants to win, right? And he's a special prosecutor.
Right.
He's been tapped for this special case. But come on. Like you said, is Karen Reed going to offend again? I don't think so. So why are we wasting all these taxpayer dollars? Why are we doing this all over again for the same witch hunt of a trial?
These people are playing on inadmissibility, because we know from trial to trial, and especially when your judge is Bev, you are not going to be able to bring in even things that came in from the first trial. And just like in the Daybell case that concluded a couple weeks ago, none of the jurors were allowed to know that they were allowed to know that she was a felon, that she had been convicted of a felony. But they were not allowed to know that the man she was on trial for, she not only killed him, but everybody else in the fucking house.
Right.
You kill everybody in your damn house.
Right.
They were not allowed to know that.
Right.
And she played on that shit to the hilt. She wore a scrunchie around her finger as if she was still representing for Charles and saying, my husband this, my husband that, when she was only playing that damn scrunchy ring finger for us to signal to us that she was still with Toadface. And yes, I can call Chad Daybell Toadface because he murdered children. Okay? And when you murder children,
warranted.
baby, you open yourself up
Yeah.
to being called Toadface.
Certainly.
So with Lori Daybell, she played up or down, depending on how you look at that, the fact that nobody on that, see, the reason why everything that's going on in this trial feels so high-handed and maybe even personal for us watchers is because it doesn't matter what we think.
Right.
And it doesn't matter that we know. They know the only people that it matters for is those 12.
Right.
So Bev and her bunch think that they could just get on the stand and cap all the live long day, and they actually can. Except the feds are watching.
Somebody's watching.
And I'm on judicial watch. And if y'all want to know what Bev ain't doing right, come to my podcast.
Come to What's Upon a Crime.
And find out. Because I will not cover this case daily, because I know my limitations. And I have plateaued with those limitations. But I will give a summary of what I think about the trial as everything comes to closes. And
I love it.
Mm-hmm.
Please. Who's this from? Who's it to?
This is from Matt. Oh, sorry, to me, to Nicole, and to Brian.
And what does this read?
Brian, sitting separate.
Is that a period or a comma? I honestly can't see. Is that a period or a comma between Brian and Sam? Or can you tell?
I can't tell if it is or it's just like the way it printed out. I'm not sure.
Next text, please.
Big ideas.
Who's this from and who's it to?
Brian, to me, Nicole, and Matt.
What's the timestamp on this?
That is 4:55.
And what does that text read?
Okay.
And the next text. This is another green bubble. Who's this from and who's it to?
This is me, Matt. Me, Nicole, Matt, and Brian.
And what did you say? What did you write in this text?
I wrote you listening.
And what's the timestamp on this?
That is 5:15.
I'm sorry, it would be what time?
Oh, I'm sorry, 5:15.
And in fact, at 5:15, Ms. Roberts is in your house being personally interviewed by Massachusetts State Police, correct?
They were there. I'm not sure if this is the exact time, but yes, they did come over.
Just to be clear and to orient us, there was a phone conversation that you were privy to between Gary Roberts and Michael Proctor so far.
She was at,
Earlier in the day.
yeah, earlier in the day, he had called me, and then Kerry had asked to speak with him.
And that's the handed phone.
Yes.
Then later, a couple hours later, 5-ish or so, she was still at your house. Dr. Proctor came over and interviewed her after home.
No,
I'm sorry. No,
sorry.
That's just statement.
Came over and spoke to myself, her, and Matt.
And you wrote, you listening to the group, correct?
Yes.
Who was that specifically directed to?
I honestly don't know.
Was there anybody else in the house during her interview other than you and the troopers?
My husband, Matt, my daughter, her friend, my other daughter.
So of the people on this text chain, the only person that would have been in the house that could have conceivably, quote unquote, listened would be Matt. Okay.
Yes.
All right. Next text, please. Who's this from and who's it to?
It's from me to Matt, Nicole, and Brian.
And what does it read?
Cops here again.
You were reporting to the others on this text stream that the police had arrived at your house. They were in your house with you and Carrie that you just described, correct?
Yes, I was just telling them that they were here again.
Next text, please. Who's this from and who's it to?
This is from my sister, Nicole, to myself, Brian, and Matt. And Nicole says, call us after.
And what time was this?
This was 5:23.
Did you take this to mean that she wanted you to call the group after Carrie Roberts' interview and update them about that interview?
I took it as if she just wanted, to call and see what the cops said and if there was any update, any information.
Next text, please. Who's this from and who's it to?
This is from Matt, and it's to myself, Nicole, and Brian.
What time is this?
This is at 5:31.
And at 5:31, what does Mr. McCabe write to the group?
This girl could write a book nonstop.
Was that in reference to Carrie Roberts having her interview with Massachusetts State Police?
Yes, it was.
And that this girl is Carrie, correct?
Yes.
Next text, please. Who's this from and who's it to?
This is from me to Nicole, Brian, and Matt.
What time is this text?
5:32.
And what do you write to the group?
I love it.
And this is in direct response to Matt McCabe's, your husband's text about Carrie Roberts could write a book, correct?
Yes.
Suggesting that both you and Mr. McCabe were listening to her interview, correct?
We could hear different parts of it, correct?
Next text, please. And who's this from and who's it to?
This is from me to Nicole, to Brian, to Matt.
And what did you write?
I wrote, she is telling them everything.
Similar to the text that we earlier saw, that was in all caps when you indicated she's telling them everything, correct?
Yes.
On the phone. That was in reference to what she was saying on the phone.
Yes.
This is in reference to the live interview, correct?
Yes.
Also indicating that you were listening to and were privy to the content of her conversation with the police.
I could hear bits and pieces of it, yes.
Enough to say that she's telling them everything.
When I used the word everything, I meant it in not only was she telling them what had happened, but she was also telling them opinions and different things.
Okay, so you could hear it that much.
I could hear her saying some opinions.
Okay. Next text, please. Who's this from and who's it to?
This is from my sister Nicole to myself, to Matt, to Brian.
And this is in response to she is telling them everything, correct?
Yes.
And the text reads what?
Good.
Next text, please. Who's this from and who's it to?
This is from Matt to myself, to Nicole, and to Brian.
And what does it read?
He says, going to miss the basketball game at this rate.
You mean Matt says,
Oh, sorry. Matt says, going to miss the basketball game at this rate.
indicating that he was still in the house and still privy to the conversation between Carrie Roberts and the Massachusetts State Police.
He was waiting for them to talk, but Carrie kept talking, was, as he said, she could write a book. So he felt he was going to miss the game because she just kept talking.
Next text, please. That may be the end of it.
Yeah, it is.
Is that the last text on the page?
Yes, it is.
May I approach her?
Yes.
Yo. That's wild.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's not even at this point, it's not even that the lies are doing what they're doing. It's the attitude of being caught out in these inconsistencies. She's just happy. She is happy. Either these smiles are releasing tension or she is actually having a fantastic time on the stand. At this point, this is day 2. She has completely changed her attitude from trial 1, and I think she's just having a grand time.
She's having
I think
herself
she's having
a time.
a fantastic time. I mean, the judges got her back. The prosecution definitely has her front. I mean, what else is there? What else is there?
And yet still, she's still trying to control the narrative. Like, 'cause she knows she can get away with it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
She thinks, oh yeah, I'm safe. This is a safe space for Jennifer McCabe. This might not be a safe space for Karen
is.
Reed, but it
It
is
is.
certainly a safe space for Jennifer McCabe.
That's a good point. And you know what? Jennifer McCabe, and I'm not saying that anybody's going to do something to her. So here we go. This is
They
not
will
what I
not.
said.
They will not.
They won't. But it can be argued that Jennifer McCabe is having such a fantastic time on the stand because this is literally
Yes.
her being in the box is the safest place, safer than her going back home.
Right.
Because she's being covered all the way around at home. She actually has to be confronted by her lies.
Right.
See, this is why I don't, when they get to pulling out the violins, I'm one of the last ones to enjoy that tune because these people like to spin
Their
tales,
webs.
and you going to YouTube and not liking the comments is not your family being attacked, but they will take that and conflate it.
Right.
I highly doubt that with the attitudes that exist in this clan, that people are just walking it up, knocking on their door and throwing rotten tomatoes through the windows. Nobody's doing that.
Right.
People like this who are not used to being challenged, they take a person in the chat saying they did it or we don't believe you. They take that as attack.
Right.
And I guarantee you they do. Guarantee. Hands down.
Right. We could tell from some of the pushback that people have received for, voicing their opinions on this case. That's why it's so touchy, And that's why some people don't want to talk about it or they're scared about what they're going to say. And it's warranted in the sense that we have seen that in Norfolk County District Attorney's Office, they don't like people who are going against the McCabe's and the Alberts because they have had their nice little reign is Canton, monarchy people, they're the clan or whatever. Like, I don't know how to say it, but they're kind of royalty in Canton. They're kind of they were the it family for a long time. You know what I mean? Because they grew up in Canton. They went to high school. A lot of them are high school sweethearts. Their kids go to Canton and everybody knows one of them or two of them or three of them. You know what I mean? Because they're quite prolific. Yes. And then they got buddies on the law enforcement. They got buddies on the select board. Like the roots the McAlbert families have in Canton is they run deep. They run real deep. So yes, I think you hit the nail on the head. See, that's the face of somebody who has never been challenged before. They've never had people be like, wait a second, why did you do this? Or like, because she has been in that comfortable place, and now that she's being challenged on the world stage, and people are judging her reaction because they're on a national live stream. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, it's not Canton anymore, but in the courtroom, Bev is going to make it nice and cushy for them because whatever,
Yeah. Their fraternity is obvious to the world now.
Yes.
And I don't think, regardless of the outcome of this trial, that they will ever be able to comfortably run shit up there in Canton anymore. Yeah. I just don't think so, because for all of the protection that they are giving each other, I think they have as many people who are not all that happy with them that are not going to want this to continue moving on. Like that case that you presented to your subscribers.
Birchmore.
I went and researched that, and man, that is heartbreaking.
It is so
it's heartbreaking to know that something like that could happen, really.
And just with the Birchmore case, we have a lot of the same players, a lot of the same people who first responded, like the Canton police officers. Some of the same ones on this case are also responded to the Birchmore incident. And what's such a travesty, in both circumstances are very tragic. I don't want to downplay either of them, but with the Birchmore case, she's a dang child. Like, she's a child. Right. She came from a broken home. She went to something in the hopes of maybe having a brighter future, fostering your interest in law enforcement from a young age. She had every dream ahead of hers, and she was looking to community for support. And instead, what she gets some nasty cops doing some rotten things to her, allegedly. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, it's even more sad to me because she already had such a terrible, hard life, and
Yeah,
yeah, that one cuts
it's
me
a
up a little bit.
tragedy. And if you guys haven't listened to that episode or that
Thanks, T.
video that Nicole did, you need to go back. It's on her channel, and she's very passionate about this case and bringing light to it, as it is not one that many that has the type of visibility that this trial
Right on.
garners, but the story is going to leave you speechless. It is going to leave you speechless.
You are a good little writer there. I love your elevator pitches there because you just know how to hook them. No, that's real,
Thank
T.
you.
And I've said it before, but if we all know Karen Reed's name, we all know John O'Keefe's name, we better know Sandra Birchmore's name, because for a
Right.
while justice was denied, and they're trying to rectify it. And
Yeah.
Matthew Farwell, he's the officer who's charged with killing her. He is waiting for his trial in federal prison right now. But that's another case
Okay.
that, the Canton police officers were involved with, and the Stoughton police officers they were the really rotten people in that story. But the Stoughton is a nearby town to Canton. It took getting the feds involved to actually sniff out what was actually going on there. And it wasn't just one
Yeah.
or two officers abusing Sandra Birchmore, allegedly. They were passing her around. She was
Yes.
it's just so disturbing. But
It
anyways,
is very.
I think we did a good shakedown here of Jennifer McCabe. What do you think, T?
I think we did, and I think that her testimony doesn't hold water for a lot more people than us. Even if you find yourself in an anti-Karen Reed position, that's okay by me. I welcome contrarian
Same.
positions because I am a little bit of a contrarian.
We all like to play the devil's advocate, right?
Yeah, and you know what? You can think she's guilty, but if you're capable of simultaneously not thinking that something's rotten in Denmark, then I envy you, because I
I
absolutely
think you're living in Delulu land, but I do envy you.
Yeah, I mean, I envy people who can go in as oblivion stricken. I'm not, and perhaps you're getting more out of this trial than I am, but
No.
the knowing that everybody that gets on that stand has every reason to lie. See, that's the problem. Everybody by now has been coached and practiced and been briefed, and now they know what to try to clean up from last time, and I just don't trust it. Nicole, I
agree.
don't trust this.
It's like, Jennifer, can I have your report? McCabe, can I see your report? McCabe, whatever you
Jennifer,
said. I mean,
if you have it, so I can see it, McCabe. I mean, girl, if you can't trust your work, if you can't trust what you said, why should a jury trust you right now, girl?
preach.
Come on. And that's not an attack.
Mm-hmm. And if you're on this jury and you're evaluating each witness for their credibility, as you should, right? Hypothetically,
You
then
should.
how do you believe a dang word half these people are saying? How can you?
But look, it's going to work for some, I think, because again, I think ultimately they're going to succeed in prosecuting Karen, unfortunately. But look, they've obviously coached Jennifer on this time being bubbly, being personable, being cooperative, and show us that smile and hit us with the puppy dog and be super helpful and thorough and, just be a deer in headlights about how dare you accuse me of a conspiracy. She is taking her coaching very well. She is turning that ship around as far as her demeanor on the stand. A year ago, she was like an attack dog. This year, she's a poor widowed deer caught up in the headlights. And how dare you think that? And the judge has to swoop in because poor little Jen. And I think that's going to work on some jurors,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
No, 1000%. I think you're right. This has been a totally different trial, and the prosecution has really leveled up in a sense in this go round because they have a
Yeah.
totally different strategy with how they've laid out the case, with how they've been splicing in Karen Reed's potentially self-incriminating interview snips, and then they're painting
Yeah.
her as ultimately just not a super likable person. And ultimately, I'm sorry, but I think, not to bring misogyny into this, but
Mm-hmm.
I think they're going for the cheap win. I think they are kind of saying,
Mm-hmm.
oh, like, look at how badly she talks about Peggy O'Keefe, John's mom. Like, look at how nasty she can be. Like, oh, she's just like talking about how many drinks she had. She doesn't, like, all right, come on, guys. Like, if you're going to play and you're going to win, let's win fair, Let's win fair.
And I mean, you're right. And as far as his mom is concerned, I just thought it was extremely cheap when they put her on the stand. Not that her emotions and all the grief she's dealing with are cheap, not at all. But that they put her on the stand, I felt was a cheap move because it was an obvious sympathy play. What mom is not going to get on that stand and be absolutely destroyed about the memory of their son? And when it's been hammered in your head all this time that Karen Reed did it, you're not going to get on that stand and do anything except sway first timers. I think we watched it and we were like, that's kind of wrong what y'all doing with his mom.
Right.
We know it's just wrong what y'all did. That was just
Y'all
a
kind of
complete
messed up for that.
that was a reverse Uno card. And we know that's what y'all did. That is exactly what y'all did with that.
Exactly. And she wasn't even, in some people's opinion, I'll say, with Peggy O'Keefe, and her testimony is that she wasn't even super sympathetic because she's like this tough Irish Catholic mom, and she's like,
Oh
oh,
yeah.
yeah, I had 3 kids, and then she got a sad circumstance too, right? Because she lost her other daughter to, I think, brain cancer,
Yes.
and then John O'Keefe obviously killed tragically, and then she's got one son left, and she's like, yeah, and then there's Paul. Like, mind you, Paul's in the courtroom, and she just doesn't have
Yeah.
anything nice to say about her other son. But you know
Yeah,
what? Like,
it's bad.
even still, she's caught up, she's whimpering, and like, obviously I cannot imagine. I don't have kids, but I can understand, like, the grief must be an ocean, and I don't know what that feels like, but
And what I find so curious about this is that I do think that Karen found herself literally in the deep end of the pool of a bunch of busybodies.
yeah,
But why is it that nobody in that circle was her friend? How is it that nobody in that circle
that's a good
gave her
point.
the benefit of the doubt?
That's a good point.
Everybody jumped to guilty. Usually when you see a case, even Darrell Brooks had a supporter. And I'm not talking about her parents, who, bless their hearts, her dad, man, every time I see him, I just feel like, man, this is taking it out of him. But why is it that nobody outside of her parents and her lawyers, why doesn't she have like a girlfriend or something in
Yeah,
that town that stands by her?
right.
Is there intimidation where people don't feel comfortable supporting her? But it just seems like with the McCabe's and all that, even though that clan seems to have a lot of, power in that town,
Right.
you would think that all those years of hanging out with John and all of that, that there would have been somebody that kind of liked Karen,
Yeah,
that she could kind of get on with.
that's a good point.
And nobody.
No,
That's what makes this
honestly.
look like a witch hunt.
Honestly, I think that's an excellent point. And I want to say that maybe at the beginning, it seemed like, I think it was Carrie Roberts who was kind of like, well, I didn't want to say, like, I didn't
Mm-hmm.
want to point fingers at the beginning. She didn't want to say, like, oh, it's because of her tail light, like her tail light's broken. Like, she made some
Yeah.
comments at the beginning where she was like, oh, I didn't want to, like, make it seem like I was blaming anyone. So it almost sounded like Carrie Roberts at the beginning was kind of like, okay, let's dig into this a little bit more. But then, as soon as Jennifer McCabe started to sink, her teeth into Carrie Roberts, who we know they were not friends before this. They were not friends. Don't get it twisted, right? But then suddenly,
Mm-hmm.
Jennifer McCabe, she's hitting him with that baby blues, with them puppy eyes, you know. She's saying,
Right.
oh, Peggy O'Keefe, oh, Carrie Roberts, oh, this is just such a travesty, but these mean people are trying to say that my family did something. This is just terrible, feel bad for me. And now, you know, they're talking every day almost. Like Carrie Roberts called or texted Jennifer McCabe before her testimony, or vice versa. Sorry, Jennifer McCabe called or
Mm-hmm.
texted Carrie Roberts before her testimony. Said good luck. Mind you, they're not supposed to be even watching the trial. If you're a witness, you're not supposed to be watching the trial. You're not supposed to
Right.
even know what's up. But the fact that they weren't friends until John died, and then all of a sudden they're
All of a
such good
sudden.
friends that they're still up on each other all these years later now. Interesting.
So let me ask you, what do you think? What are your predictions for how this trial is going to go? You've got a crystal ball and you can see well into the future, whatever this trial wraps up.
Yeah.
What is going to happen?
Man, I think you're right, T. I think that this trial is not going to end well for Karen Reed, and I think that's going to be a shock to the court of public opinion. That's going to send a real shockwave through the community. But I think at this point, she's not getting a fair trial, and
Right.
she has decent basis for an appeal. You know, appeals take a long time. I don't even know how long it would take, but I think she's gonna, in my opinion, if I had this crystal ball, and I could be wrong, people, don't attack me.
Right.
But if I had this crystal ball, I think that involuntary manslaughter, guilty. Everything else, not guilty. So if she's involuntary
Okay.
manslaughter, I don't know what the sentence is for that in mass. I forget, but it's still not great. Like, I think she still might
No.
have to do a few years, you know, like, and
Yeah.
for what, people? Like, do I think she deserves it? Do I think the prosecution will prove their case beyond a reasonable doubt? I don't think so. But let's see what happens. But I could be wrong. But what do you think, T?
I think that my first assessment is what I'm going to continue to go with, and that is that they're on her case. They want her. And I don't see them. I think that Beverly personally will move mountains in that courtroom to make it so. And it doesn't seem that in any other trial that the judge really has any power. But the reason for that is because those judges chose to rule in an unbiased way. We're seeing a live demonstration every day that this trial wears on how much power a judge really does have in that courtroom. And the reason why some judges look like to not even factor into the decisions at all is because they are doing their job properly. They're balancing. But when you get a judge that's imbalanced, you see how much the judge can actually affect the outcome of a case. And I think this is probably the first time I've ever seen it.
And we watch a lot of trials, don't we?
Man, we watch a lot of trials.
I
And
live for
this
it.
one is in a class of its own. It's something that when it's over, if she wins, I'm not going to lie, I will feel a level of vindication. I'm probably not supposed to feel that way, but I will.
No, serious.
But I will gladly put this in a corner of my mind that I want to forget.
Yeah.
Especially if she loses.
Yeah.
I just, after the first trial and when I realized that, oh my God, a mistrial, I was not going to watch this trial the second time around, but it got the better of me. I'm seeing 40,000 people in chat at once. I'm like, what the hell are they saying?
Right?
Curiosity killed me.
Yes.
And I had to go back and jump in there. And I did.
No. And what do you think it is about this trial that makes people tune in as much? Like, you danced on that question a little bit there, but like, tell me a little bit more.
I think that this trial taps into people's perceptions of the way that power actually works in this country. We talked earlier and on our last episode about how we're usually pro prosecution, aren't we?
Yes.
You know, and I talked about this some on my podcast too, especially there was a death of an inmate called Robert Brooks, and I'm sure he was in prison for a good reason, but he met his end. And it changed me so much. It took my ethos about true crime and shook it like a snow globe. And it made me try to figure out, why am I approaching these cases as if these people are guilty instead of innocent until proven? I think that the Karen Reed trial, it puts on display our worst nightmares when it comes to the judicial system, because a lot of us, I think, are true crimers because we want to be able to be knowledgeable so that if somebody we know is in a jam, we can say, hey, evidence, something like that. But I think that we at times can think, what if somebody came up to me and they said I did something that I didn't do, and then I had to stand trial for it? What if I really didn't do it? This is the way it would look.
Right.
This is how it would look. And it wouldn't be like they just plucked you out of a crowd. It would be like, no, you was chilling with some people that you barely like, getting a little crunk, getting a little tipsier than you should have been around people you don't trust even when you're sober. And then you are caught up, which is how, everybody's not Darrell Brooks. Everybody isn't Lori Daybell, who goes and murders people on purpose.
Thank God.
I think that this exemplifies and exhibits how the everyday man or woman can find themselves entwined in the judicial system and can't easily
claw their
get
way
out.
Yeah.
I think it feeds one of our biggest fears, that we could personally be unjustly prosecuted for a crime that we didn't commit.
Right.
Not the crime we're being charged with.
And you know what? The other component too, I think you're right. We all feel like, oh, maybe I could be Karen Reed, or in a way, something like that. But also, at the same time, Karen Reed sits in a place of crazy privilege, right? She has so many resources. She's able to hire this hotshot lawyer from LA to come to her aid. And yet, there are probably a lot of other people who are wrongly accused who never get the kind of legal representation that Karen Reed has gotten, and still, arguably, in my opinion, has not received a fair trial with, So it's also, it's like a double-edged sword in a way, because it's like, oh, like, people who generally, don't like to break the law or, find themselves in weird situations that could get them into situations like that. I'm running my mouth here, but you know what I mean? Like,
I understand.
In a sense, it's like, we could be Karen Reed, but also Karen Reed is supposed to be like the good outcome here, like she's first time offender in this or whatever.
Right.
And yet she's sitting here staring at these types of charges again.
Yes.
After we've already seen this mockery of a first trial,
Yeah.
So that's also what's terrifying, I think. And then the other component I would say is like, what is the truth, right? This concept of the truth, right? The truth is so blurry at times, and especially when you invite alcohol into the situation. There's black and there's white, but the truth is always in the gray area. And I think with this case, this has been a great example of how really we might never know what actually happened, but people are here and people are here, and we're having trouble meeting each other here because people have such a strong mindset of how things have to be, when in reality maybe the truth isn't like that. Maybe it's not like either side. Maybe it's somewhere in here and we never know what it is, and that's okay too. But I think that's what keeps people coming back too, because it's like, I can't fully wrap my head around it. I think she's this. I think Jennifer McCabe's this. I think Karen Reed's that. But in reality, we all are kind of like, but actually, can I trust this person? Did they do it? You know, that sort of thing. Like when
Mm-hmm.
there's a sense that nothing is going to be fully resolved, that's also what makes this so intriguing, I think.
I agree with that. And I think that few people have ever witnessed what looks like an actual conspiracy. There are people who are castigated and demonized for being conspiracy theorists, but there's no other word you can use for this. And to be able to see that acted out like a freaking play is crazy. That
Yes.
there's a real conspiracy happening right in front of us.
And I hate that the words like conspiracy theory or conspiracy theorist is so taboo in our culture because
I
like
know.
I
Me too.
love a good story because you know what?
Me too.
People are complicated creatures, right? There's no yes and no all the
They are.
time. The truth is in the middle, right? That's why.
Mm-hmm.
And I love myself a good conspiracy, and I don't trust people with power. I don't trust, law enforcement 9 times out of 10. I don't trust. I'm sorry. I'm a little bit of a conspiracy theorist. I'll say it. I don't want to apologize, but I'll apologize. But
Don't apologize for that.
yeah.
That's a badge of honor.
Oh, thanks.
Wear it like a badge of honor. Nobody can tell you to ignore what you see. Then that is it. And unfortunately, we are seeing two defense attorneys or a defense team. We're seeing defense attorneys that are capable, that have the ability, that are actually fighting for her. And I think that feeds into the fantasy of that a lot of us have, that whether we have the money or the means to be able to defend ourselves if we're unjustly being prosecuted, we all like to fantasize that there's going to be a Yannetti or a Jackson that's
Yes,
going to
we
swoop
do.
in and fight tooth and nail for us. These guys are doing it, and they're doing it with such
Pizzazz.
vigor. You know, they're even changing their approach because these are two sharks. They don't play. And if it were not for Bev breastfeeding all of the witnesses, they would be going for it. But she won't let them, will she?
You're killing me. That's
She won't.
hilarious.
I mean, you
Mother
know,
Goose.
I don't know what else to say. I
Neither
you
do
know,
I.
I don't want to, people are very passionate about their opinions. And I find that it's very hard to draw an analogy. So I like to go for them
Do
because
it.
you can't paint them except the way that they actually are. When you got a mother breastfeeding, nobody's going to probably come and attack her or the baby. They're too vulnerable. So even Jackson and Yannetti, they sound like, and this is not a bad thing for them, but because they're walking a landmine, they sound like bumbling idiots at this point.
Right.
And you know Alan Jackson and Yannetti can put a damn sentence together.
Yes, they
It's
can.
just that they know that you're watching them in real time correct themselves so that Bev doesn't jump down their throat.
Exactly. They're stepping on eggshells, and they
Yeah.
have to present themselves differently because at the end of the day, like at least Alan Jackson, because he's from out of town, right? He's an outsider in a sense. David Yannetti, he's local. He's a local guy. He's probably dealt with Bev before, but especially when there's questions of controversy and maybe not being so upfront with the ARCA situation with the expert crash reconstructionist and how Beverly kind of chewed them out for that. You didn't see Alan Jackson making any sort of comment after that. I mean, granted, now there's a gag, but like he was just like, you don't see him run his mouth when he's in trouble. You know what I mean? And like that shows you that they want to win this for their client. They have come to bat for her, no doubt. If I'm getting accused of something, I'm calling my ass David Yannetti, Alan Jackson. Please come
Hey.
save me, daddies.
Hey, I'm going to say, look, if y'all need somebody to wash the dishes, I got you for like a year because I cannot pay y'all's damn fee. I know that
Yes,
already.
same.
Ain't no, I don't need no payment plan. I ain't got that either.
Right.
But I do know how to wash dishes pretty damn good. And if you will let me do
I
that,
think they'll
please come
take.
and defend me. Look, hey, the next time I find myself almost getting ready to murder somebody or something, I'm calling them. Okay,
Do it.
disclaimer, I'm not a murderer, I'm not a criminal. I'm just saying that those two at the top of my list. They are at the top of my list.
I'm glad we're on the same page.
Yeah, I'm calling them. Innocent, guilty, or both. I don't care. I'm calling them. You called them. And
Oh
Karen,
my
thank you
god.
so much for exposing the world to the best lawyers in the United States because others need them. Stat.
Seriously. And
Yeah.
you can tell when people don't have a good defense attorney, like it really doesn't feel good. Like
Mm-mm.
there was this other case in the same court, Dr. Turk, he was like a surgeon and he was accused of killing his wife, or maybe like they were getting a divorce. I kind of forget the situation, but basically, like Dr. Turk had this terrible defense attorney, Kevin Reddington, and he just was like, he comes off so sleazy, you know? Like, as a defense
Mm-hmm.
attorney, you have to realize that people are going to have these bias about you immediately because you're sometimes defending people who are guilty, right? And so
Right.
to immediately come off with this kind of sleaziness and kind of like almost just overly involved and like aggressive men type of way, it's
Yeah.
not good. It's going to turn people off. But with Alan Jackson, David Yannetti specifically, like, and
Mm-hmm.
Liza, whatever her name is, I think it's Liza Little, the other one. I should say the
Mm-hmm.
other one. They haven't gotten her up there much at this trial. She's very talented as well. She works for Jackson's firm. But Yannetti, anyways, all to say, he has this niceness about him. He's kind of got this like dad
Mm-hmm.
energy, and even
He
Alan
is
Jackson.
extremely effective at what he
Yes.
does. And I don't know if I know everything. At this point, and even in the first trial, everything is about strategy.
Mm.
Uh, and Jackson is revamping his approach. But I must admit, and I agree that I enjoy watching Yannetti present
Definitely.
because it's something about his delivery. It's just
He
I don't
seems
know if they are.
trustworthy, right?
Yeah, I don't know if they are saving him up for something special or what, but I need him to get up more.
Yes.
But maybe it's that they're not going to bring him up as much because he really going to expose the truth. I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't know
And maybe
why.
how about this? At the end of the day, Alan Jackson gets to go home to Los Angeles and deal with the courts over there for the most part. But David
Yeah,
Yannetti, he's still gonna be around. He still could have Judge Beverly Cannoni for something
I
else, and
know.
he's got to be like, okay, about placating her.
Yeah.
But
I
yeah,
mean, it's just such a fine line that they have to dance. And you're right, what you said earlier, that they're willing to do whatever they have to do in contorting themselves to to not ruin this case for her because
agree.
their antics and any back talk or any ethical violations are not going to work well for Karen's case. So they have to take all this crap from the judge and everything, and they have to just take it. They just have to take it. And it has to be supremely frustrating. Like
Totally.
anytime you feel like you might be able to sense how frustrating it is for someone, that means that the frustration that person's feeling is even
Right.
more.
Exactly. And the stakes are so high. Like at this point, they've developed a relationship with Karen.
Yeah.
Clearly, she's been very involved in her own defense, and they really believe
Mm-hmm.
that she's innocent. Maybe, yeah, or maybe they don't. Maybe I'm wrong. They could believe she's guilty, but at this point, they know she's not like a your average probably defendant. I should say, not that I group all defendants into oh
Mm-hmm.
y'all did it type of category, but like Karen Reed, she had a career before this. She had some money to throw at these lawyers, and I think she's pretty likable on her face. So even though she's kind of a hardo and she Fall
Mm-hmm.
River accent, but yeah, like I think you're right. They're doing the dance, and they're scared, and they want to save her, but I don't know. Will they? Remains to be seen.
It remains to be seen, and whatever the outcome is, I know that you're going to stay updated. I know I'll watch with one eye squinted, and we'll see how Karen, comes out in this. But I'll tell you what, Nicole, I had a good time
I
here
had a great time.
with you discussing this. This was so much more digestible with somebody else. This is a
TA.
hard case, and anybody watching this, hey, if you have friends or people that don't mind true crime, don't watch this by yourself. Even if you have to chat with the folks online, do that, because this is one that's going to trigger you in the worst ways. And even if you do consume this with someone else, you still need to decompress afterward. And there's no better way to do that than to listen to my story, Nicola.
Oh no! Listen to Niccolo, and I was gonna say listen to Once Upon a Crime as well, because
And Once Upon a Crime, because
you
you can
keep
come
me
on my
laughing
podcast and
all
cuss.
the
You can say whatever
time.
you want to. You can say whatever. Look,
Listen,
YouTube has their guidelines, and good for them. I'm glad for it. They do what they need to do, and
for
I do on
speak.
my podcast too. And I say what needs to be
No,
said.
listen, she really does, and I don't know if y'all follow the Madeline Soto case, but my personal favorite coverage that T has been doing lately is the Stefan Stearns case. He's accused
Mm-hmm.
of, what do I say? How do I say? Grooming and
Mm-hmm.
sexually abusing his stepdaughter
Mm-hmm.
for,
Mm-mm.
several years. And
Yep.
he's facing trial soon.
Mm-hmm.
And also, his parents like to try to control the narrative, kind of like Jennifer McCabe. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So they're out
Oh
there.
yeah.
They're trying to win some public sympathy, and it ain't working.
Mm-hmm.
And T will
Mm-mm.
tell you why it ain't working.
Oh yeah, we get into it. So if you want to hear any updates on Stephen Stearns, you want to hear his jail calls and his parents going on their little media tour, I covered all of that. So come on over and have a listen, because it's off the hook, y'all.
It
It's
is
off the
off the
hook.
hook. Highly recommend the jail calls because they're just truly unbelievable. And T is the only one who's going to give it to you like it is. So thank you.
Yes.
With that,
Thank you.
T, I am so honored to have you do this all over again with me because our first recording was a bust. You're such a
It's okay.
trooper, and I really appreciated having someone else to comment on Jennifer McCabe
I know.
and her trial.
Ugh, her trial. You said it. Her trial.
Ugh. Well, thank you so much, T.
You are
I really
welcome,
appreciate
Nicole.
it. Again, y'all, please
Welcome.
check out T's jewelry. Please check out T's podcast, T's books. She is thebomb.com, and I have been so honored to talk to her for a few hours about true crime, and I hope to stay in touch and to talk soon.
Sure. Most definitely. Thank you, Nicole. It was a pleasure.
It was a pleasure. Thank you, T. I appreciate it.